afternoon, everybody. We want to be working today with little bit of algebra, right? And then today we want to focus ourselves on the distributive property of whenever we're dealing with algebra. So far, I guess you guys have an idea that of algebraic expressions, such as example, if I put 3x plus 5x, we know that if we have an algebraic expression and we want to add, then we know that they're able to be added only if they have the same variable. The variable, I'm talking about the x's, which means that we would do the normal operation in terms of the variable of the numbers or the coefficient, which is the 3 and the 5, which is add 3 plus the 5. We have it is 8, and then that is going to be x. And why is it able to be added? Because it has the same variable. If it does not have the same variable, they are not able to be added, right? So that's algebraic expressions. A second example would be something like, for instance, if we have 4x plus y. In this case, notice that the coefficient here is 4 and the coefficient here is 1. Whenever we don't have any number, then we consider that there is a 1. But we cannot solve this any further because this has a variable that is an x, and then this has a variable that is a y. So in this case, whenever the variables are different, you do not work it out, so your answer remains as 4x plus y, right? Let's take a look at another one. Let's say you have negative 7y plus 6y. If you have negative 7y plus 6y, then what we need to do is we need to work out the numbers. And why we are able to work out the numbers? Because we can notice that the variable is y and the variable is y. So we're able to work it out. Negative 7 plus 3, that gives me a negative 1. And then I add in the y at the end, which is the variable. So they need to be of the same variables or the same letters so that they are able to be added. Let's take a look at another example. This one is 7m minus 3m minus n. Notice again, all of them have the same variable, which is m, and m. So that means we're able to work it out. So what we do is we work it out. 7 minus 3. 7 minus 3 gives me 4, right? Or let me take it by 2's. This 2 by 2's, that's going to be 7 minus 3 gives me 4n. So that is my result when I solve out this 2 here, right? Now let me solve out the next 2. This 2, it's going to be 4 minus, take a guess, minus what? It doesn't have a number here. So what we have to do is we have to keep in mind that there is always a 1 if it does not have a number. So that's going to be 4 minus 1, that gives me 3, and then you add in the m at the end. So my answer is going to be 3m, right? So those are going to be algebraic expression, and whenever we want to solve it out. Let's take a look at a different one. In the cases whenever we have different variables, for instance, if let's say we have x minus y minus 8x minus 9y plus 10w. Whenever we have this, notice that the only ones who are able to simplify would be those that have y by y and y, x and x, or m and m, or w and w, and so on, right? So those that have the same variables. If we notice, we have the x that has the same variable here with this one. So what we need to do is we need to rewrite it and have those two together. So we're going to bring down the x, right? And then notice also that this 8, you cannot just say it is plus 8, but if the sign in front of it is negative, then that means you need to bring down the negative, right? So this is negative 8x. This x here, you can notice it is positive, so whenever you bring it down, it is positive. This y here is negative, so whenever you write it down, it is going to be negative. See, the 8 here is negative, so when you write it down, it is negative. This 9 here is negative, so when you write it down, it's negative. And then this 10w here is positive, so whenever you write it down, it is going to be positive, right? So let's continue. So we have gotten rid of those two here because we have the x and we have minus 8x there. Next thing that we have to do is we have to take a look at another one that has similar variables, which in this case you can see that it is this y and this y here. So we need to bring down those two there. When I bring this y down here, notice that this negative has to be in front of it. So it is a negative or minus y, and then the same thing here. So you have to bring down the whole term and the sign that is in front of it. So this 9, when I bring it down, I put 9y, but I cannot put plus because here it is negative. So bring that down. And then we can see that we don't have any more y, so we have to go with the other ones, which in this case I notice that I have one last term, which is going to be the 10w. This 10w is positive. There's no other 10w, so that means that when I bring this down, it is just going to be plus 10w, right? So that is what we have. When we reorganize this, we can see that we can solve this one, x with x. I can see that we can organize this one, which is y and y. And then you can also notice that the w will be by itself and it cannot organize itself, or we cannot solve it out, so we just need to bring it down. So let's write that down. That is going to be, what do we have in front of the x? If there's nothing, what number do we put here? It is always going to be a 1. So that's going to be 1 minus 8. 1 minus 8 gives me negative 7. Right? 1 minus 8 gives me negative 7. Right? Because in mathematics, the positive, if you want to see it like, if you want to work with it in terms of positive and negative, we have the rule that says that if signs are different, you will subtract the numbers and you keep the sign of the larger number, right? So this is a positive 1, this is a negative 8. Positive 1, negative 8, two different signs, so we're going to subtract 1 from 8 gives me 7, and then the larger number is 8 and that is negative, so we have to put negative there. And then x, right? Now we finished with that one there, so let's do this one here. This one is going to be negative y minus 9y. In this case, again, we have no number here, but we know that this one is going to be negative 1, right? So negative 1 and negative 9. Remember that if I say minus 1 and minus 9, it is the same thing as me saying negative 1 and negative 9. It is the same thing. So negative 1 and negative 9, two signs are the same. We are going to add the numbers and then we're going to keep the sign. So this means that we're going to say 9 plus 1, that's going to give me 10. If I notice I have a negative and a negative, I keep the sign. Add the numbers, keep the sign, which is negative, and then I add the variable, which is y at the end. The 10w cannot work out. The 10w cannot go with the x and it can't go with the y. So what I need to do is just bring it down, and then we have 10w there. That will be my final answer because I cannot mix the x with the y, and the x with the w, or the y with the w. Okay, let's do one more and then I'll have you guys practice on some. So this one, you can notice that we have 2xy squared minus 3x squared y minus 3xy squared minus x squared y, right? So here we have a little bit of a different one, but if you notice, we have xy, we have xy, we have xy, and we have xy, but they're still different. Why is it different? Because notice here we have x1 one time. Here we have w 2 times because it says a power of 2. So this one is different from this one, because this one, it's telling you that it is 2x and only 1y, right? So this is different from this. So which two are the ones that could work out together? X and y squared, x and y squared. So those two can work together. Then x squared with y, and then x squared with y. So let's go on and work it out. So we need to reorganize it. We'll bring this down first. We're going to have 2xy squared. Then, so this is out. Then that's going to be with this one. And then notice I bring down the 3xy squared. And then I notice that the 3 is negative. So I put the 3 here. If this 2 would have had a negative here, then I need to bring it down, right? But it doesn't have. And then we continue. So this one now is going to be 3x squared y. And then this 3 is negative, so that's negative in here, right? And then this one is the last one that I need to add in, which is x squared y, and then a negative in front of it, right? So we're going to work it out. This 2 can work out, and then followed by this 2 can work out. So let's see what we have. X squared y, xy squared, sorry, xy squared, right? Xy squared, xy squared. So we're going to say 2 minus 3. Signs are different. One is positive, one is negative. Signs different. Subtract the numbers and keep the sign of the larger number. So if we subtract the numbers, it's going to be 3 minus 2. That gives me 1. Which one is the larger number? It's the 3, and it has a negative. So that's going to be a negative there. And we add in the x followed by the y squared, right? So that means this works out to be negative x y squared. If you want, you put the 1, and if you don't want, you remove it. Next one, this one here, negative 3x squared y minus x squared y. Negative 3, and here it's going to be a negative 1, right? So that's going to be negative 3 and negative 1. That's going to be negative 4, right? Because its signs are the same. You add the number, so that's 3 plus 1, 4, and then you keep the sign, so it's negative, so that's negative 4. X squared y, you add it in here, x squared y. And then that is what we have, right? So that is addition of algebraic expressions, right? You just have to make sure that you are adding those that have the same variables, x with x. This is not able to work out because it's all different. And then you can see here from the last ones, this will not be able to work out any further because this is x, this is y, and this is w. So not able to be worked out. This one you might say, but oh, we have a x and we have a y here, and we have a x and we have a y here. But this is x to the power of 1, and this is x to the power of 2. So that's different. This is 1x and this is 2x. This one is y squared, which means this is 2y. and then this is only 1y. So that means it's different. So that means they're not able to work out. All right, I hope this helps you. I hope you are able to do the exercise that I will provide to you. And if you have any questions, just leave it on the comment, or you can send me a message through